Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Truck Guy Joe. Thanks for your time today and thank you for joining me. On today's video, we're going to talk just in general some commercial math. Basic commercial math when you're speccing out a truck. A lot of times I get phone calls, I'll get emails, text messages, commercial customers asking exactly what the capabilities of certain trucks are, certain models. Whether it be a 1-ton dump, 3500, or something like this, a medium duty, a 5500. And we talk about differences like two-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive, the size of the dump bed. Also, we have to look at the math of how the manufacturer rates the truck as far as gross vehicle weight rating and even the axle weights. There's variables that come into play when we order these trucks to help spec the truck for maximum capability so the end user, the consumer who's going to buy it, they know they can confidently buy a truck that is going to do what they need it to do. Because if you're going to make the investment, if you're going to spend the money, make sure you don't settle and buy the right truck. And there's math involved, and you got to have a sales consultant who can help you work through that process and not guess. And I'm going to show you how I do that without guessing. Looks good. Looks good. So we've got the 1-ton dump on the scales, steer axle on one set of plates, and then the drive axle on a separate set, so we can get a nice weight distribution on the truck empty with myself in it and a full tank of fuel.
All right, I got you.
Thank you. I'm at the Travel Centers of America in Harbor Creek, PA, right off of Interstate 90. They do have an app for the phone, so you could actually get yourself set up that it would actually show up right on your smartphone and set up a billing account, so you don't have to do what I do, which is hit the button and then go inside, pay, and get the slip. I don't weigh enough things to do that. If you're an over-the-road trucker, that's one thing, but this works good for me. Here are the two trucks we're going to be looking at today. We're going to dig into the numbers on both of these. And I picked these two trucks because they are a common spec of truck that we sell. A very popular truck is this right here. This is a 1-ton 3500. It has the gas engine and it's four-wheel drive. The gross vehicle weight rating, GVWR, is 14,000 pounds. So in basic terms, what that means, this truck itself, if I am behind the wheel of the truck, both of the fuel tanks are full, and let's say I've got some sand or gravel in the back, if we put this truck on the scale, the entire truck cannot exceed 14,000 pounds. But it goes a little bit farther than that. Also keep in mind that the manufacturer gives you a weight rating for the front axle as well as the rear. And I'll show you where to find those ratings on these trucks from the manufacturer. The other part of the balancing act when it comes to GVWR and payload, so payload meaning what is the amount of weight that you can carry. So once we know the empty weight of this truck, we will take it to the scale. With the empty weight, that'll help us calculate what can be put in the bed. But keeping in mind, when you add weight to the bed, whatever you're going to carry, maybe cinder block, etc., you do not exceed the rear axle rating. The other part of the equation, sorry if I keep repeating myself here, but towing is also very important. If you add a trailer to this truck, an empty trailer or a trailer with a piece of equipment, keep in mind that your tongue weight, the amount of force that's pushing down on the hitch, is also subtracting from the available payload. So there is math involved, and it's a balancing act to keep customers safe and legal so I can help them pick the right truck and get them set up if they want to maybe pull a 20-foot deck over trailer with maybe a skid steer and also have something in the back of the truck, maybe some gravel or topsoil, whatever the case may be. And it's not as easy as you think, and safe and legal is what I always stress, and I use the scales and manufacturer ratings to help me help the customers. Now looking at these two trucks side by side, they're both single cab. They're both what you would call a 60-inch cab to axle, so they both have 9-foot dump beds. So the wheelbase on the truck allows for a 9-foot dump bed. So the 1-ton compared to this other spec here, this is a 5500, medium duty, two-wheel drive. This is four-wheel drive, but you can see the medium duty does sit a little bit higher if you look at the cab protector. But more importantly, not so much the cab protector, you can actually look at the dump beds themselves. Look at where the top of this part of the dump bed is in this rail. They're actually pretty close how they sit height-wise. As far as the beds go, I have a lot of customers, they like the low profile bed. So if you take your wood sides out, your sideboards, you can actually reach into the back of this truck, you can touch the floor, it's easy to get things in and out. This truck has the optional drop down sides. So there's latches on both ends. On both sides of this truck, these sides do fold down. Now briefly on this truck, it's a 5500, but there was some math that went into how we spec'd this truck when we ordered it. Just because it's a 5500, you don't have to build it to the maximum 19,500 GVWR. This truck could go up to 19.5. We ordered this truck at 17,500 GVW because we wanted to help customers with towing. This truck has a gross combination weight rating, GCWR, of 37,000 pounds. It has the 488 gears with the Allison transmission. So from a DOT standpoint, if they're gonna stop you, they're gonna add the GVWR of the truck, 17.5, right to your trailer. So by knowing what the combination rating is, 37,000, you have to deduct that from the maximum capability of the truck. They're gonna assume, even empty, if you're driving down the road by yourself in this truck with just your lunchbox and some fuel, they assume max capability, this truck is 17.5. So 37,000 gross combination truck and trailer minus 17.5, this truck can pull 19,500 pounds according to the math. So by lowering the GVWR to 17.5 versus 19.5, we gain towing capability. If you subtract the gross combination from the GVWR, that's going to tell you what the DOT is going to basically look at you at if they do pull you over. Now, the flip side, by going with 17.5, we limited some of the payload. The truck itself right now can weigh 17.5. If it was a 19.5 truck, that's an extra ton. That's 2,000 pounds. So again, it is a balancing act. The Silverado medium duties were awesome for payload, built well for payload. You can get the good GVWs, but their combination ratings, they're lacking a little bit. So we made a decision when we ordered this truck, let's allow it to tow more than a truck that was, say, 19.5. So this wasn't geared so much as a heavy payload truck, but more of a payload plus towing situation. We're also going to weigh this truck because, again, as I mentioned on the 1 ton, we have to watch the rear axle weight rating. And if you do want to put a big trailer on here, it is possible to have enough tongue weight to really limit your payload if the trailer is heavy enough and has enough tongue weight. And again, it's always a balancing act with weight distribution. It's very important. So next, let's take a look inside the doors of these trucks to look at the manufacturer's ratings for GVWR and your front and rear axle. So anybody who has a truck that wants to go to the scale, you can weigh yourself and know exactly where you're at. Keep your slip with you. Got to be safe and legal. Let's start with the 1 ton. There it is, 14,000 gross vehicle weight rating GVWR. Your front axle, 5,600. This truck does have snowplow prep. If they have the factory plow prep, you have a heavier front axle rating to carry the weight of that plow. Rear axle, 10,400. That's the gross. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about these gross numbers and what they mean. Let's say you want to hang a snowplow on this truck. This axle is allowed to be 5,600 when it's fully loaded. So when we put this truck on the scale with an empty weight, it's going to give us a value right now. So of the 5,600, how much does the engine, the transmission, fluids, axles, the tire, the wheel, all that stuff, the hood, the fender, that's all sitting on that front axle. So we're going to get an empty weight, and that'll tell us the reserve. How much room do we have to add if you want to put a snowplow on? And also keep in mind from a physics standpoint, your snowplow does not sit on top of the axle. The snowplow is mounted right at the end of the frame and it sits beyond the bumper. So think about how the weight gets amplified. You know, think back to your physics and science classes, the way, think of a wheelbarrow and fulcrum, all those terms. I'm not going to get too much into it, but by having the snowplow out here, it amplifies the amount of force pulling on the axle because the weight is all the way out here, it's not on the axle. Now, to the back axle, same principle. We'll get an empty weight. Can't exceed 10.4. So right now, we already know we've got some significant weight on this axle. So you got 10,400, but you got to start subtracting. 10,400 minus the tire, the wheel, the poly fender, the dump bed. You know, the tarp comes into play, the frame, the fuel cells right here, the hitch, that all comes into play. So let's get these weighed, and that way we can just quickly decipher the numbers and show you the balancing act. Some of the manufacturers that we deal with for the upfits, they provide their own weight slip, and they're typically pretty close. But to be safe, I do like to check their math. I don't know if they actually are necessarily going to a scale, but they do give us a second stage certification where they tell us what the body weight is added to the chassis for a combined weight. Not all body companies do this, but for example, Unicel up in Buffalo, who built this airflow bed for us, put this together, they do give us a weight slip. And so we'll check our math at the scales at the truck stop compared to what Unicel came in with their weight slip. And we'll get to that in a minute here. Also wanted to share with you the ratings for the 5500. So here's your front axle, 7,000 pounds gross. Rear axle is 13,500. Gross vehicle weight rating, GVWR, 17,500 pounds. I just want to share a few thoughts on what I call backyard builders. I do have a lot of customers that they want to buy a cab and chassis, incomplete vehicle. They don't want any upfit on. They want to do their own body. They want to build their own bed, their own flatbed, whatever the case may be. And that's all well and good until you actually get stopped. If DOT stops you in a commercial vehicle, so keep in mind, anything that's 10,001 GVW or heavier is considered a commercial vehicle, and you could be subject to a DOT inspection. Check local listings, but basically state to state, you gotta play the game, you gotta play it right, safe and legal. So, if you are a backyard builder wanting to do your own bed, you will not have, hey, there's Tony, hey, Tony Issue! Tony Issue. Sold him that Silverado right there, he put a nice little lift in it, bigger tires, looks good. Nice kid. Hard worker. Sorry about that. Back to this truck. There's an upfit sticker. So if you get stopped by DOT, they want to see that some reputable company who's certified to do it properly mated the bed to the chassis. That way when you go over some train tracks or whatever the case may be, you hit a bump, the bed just doesn't all of a sudden fall off because it was held on by, a couple of loose U-bolts, and next thing you know, the guy next to you, the dump it lands on his car, whatever the case may be. Or if you hit the brakes too hard to get in an accident, these have to be DOT compliant, certified by somebody. So let me show you the sticker that shows that we had a third party certify this installation as a final stage and it's safe and legal. Let's take a look at that sticker. So on the medium duty, you can see we had Keith's Truck Service. They did the installation. They also list the size of the wheel. They also give you the gross weights for the axles. That's also on this sticker for the front and rear axle. Gives you the tire pressures. So this way, if DOT enforcement stops you, they want to see this sticker. They want to make sure that when this vehicle was completed, these start as an incomplete vehicle. Based on the VIN number, they know it was not a complete unit, it was just a cab and chassis. Somebody had to finish this install and it has to be done right. Like I mentioned before, slam on the brakes, you get, maybe an impact from the side, or you jump some train tracks, the bed's not gonna fall off. I've got the weight slip for the 1-ton dump on the hood. Let's take a look at the numbers to see how it came out on the scales. So there you have it. This truck empty with myself in the truck and full tank of fuel. So you got 2 tanks coming in at 63 gallons, 92.80. Keep in mind the GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating, is 14,000 pounds. So, off the top of my head here, you've got about 4,700 pounds of payload. 4,700 pounds, so it's safe to say 2.5 tons is what this truck can legally haul, 2.5 tons. But keep in mind, depending on how you distribute that weight, if you're pulling a trailer, you might not be able to do that much. There's that drive axle empty right now. It's allowed to be 10,400. Right now it's sitting at 5,240. And then there's your steer axle. Front axle, this is allowed to be 5,600 for hanging that snowplow on there. So you've got some reserve left for a snowplow. Got some reserve left here for some payload in the bed of the truck. So about 2.5 tons is what you can put in this truck legally. But again, depends on how you position that weight in the bed of the truck and if you put a trailer on. If you put on a trailer with tongue weight, it will deduct from what this truck can legally haul. Let's take a look at the slip for the medium duty. Here's the numbers on the medium duty. We came in at almost 11,000 pounds empty, but that's with me behind the wheel of the truck, and the fuel tank is full. Got a full tank of diesel. This truck is allowed to be 17,500 pounds. So doing this math here, this truck has about 6,500 pounds of total payload capability. The drive axle came in at 6,140. It's allowed to be 13,500. Remember that sticker I showed you in the door? Steer axle can be 7,000. So does that mean you could put 6,500 pounds in the back of this truck? Well, you have to watch how you do it, because if you don't distribute the weight properly, you could be overweight on the rear axle, or you could be on the front. It really depends on a lot of it is weight distribution. You have to be careful, and towing comes into play. If you're gonna hook a trailer to this truck, you gotta keep in mind your tongue weight. Tongue weight will subtract from payload. This is a 5,500, as I said. We could have spec'd this truck at a 19.5 GVW. Now, if that was the case, this truck would weigh the same. If this was a 19,500 GVW, we would have had a higher rating on the rear axle and the springs, but in general, this truck would have still came in at about 11,000 pounds. So yes, we could have gained some payload with going with a 19.5, but you would have sacrificed some towing. So this was a situation where we ordered this truck, as I mentioned, kind of the best of both worlds. You can haul some weight, but also you can put 19,500 pounds behind this truck. And in towing on the 1-ton, let's talk about that. This little guy can't tow that much. And I know a lot of people question my math, so you guys can chime in, give me your thoughts. But these are commercial trucks. Anything over 10,001 GVW or heavier is considered a commercial vehicle. You're subject to DOT, United States Department of Transportation. That's why all these trucks have a US DOT number. It doesn't say PA DOT or New York DOT, it's US DOT. So you gotta look at US DOT guidelines. If those enforcement officers stop you, they will look at the GVWR of the truck, 14,000, and they're gonna ask you what the combination is for this truck. You gotta show them what the manufacturer rates for the combination, because they're literally gonna take the combination, which on this truck is 24,000, and the GVWR is 14. You better not have more than 10,000 pounds behind this truck or you're gonna be illegal. So just keep that in mind with these little 1-ton dumps with a gas motor, can't tow that much. If this was a diesel, totally different story. If this was a diesel Duramax, it would have a combination of 40,000 pounds. 40,000 pounds with a 14,000 GVWR. So it's crazy to think that the 1-tons can tow more than the medium duties, and that is the case. You go to a Chevy dealer and talk to a commercial sales rep who knows what they're talking about, and a 1-ton dually pickup truck can tow more than what a medium duty can, the way they are rated. And that's why you see a lot of guys with Silverado 3,500 1-tons on the road and not so many of these medium duties. So General Motors, if you're listening, there's a reason why more guys go with the Ram 5500 or the Ford F550 is because they have a higher combination rating. A higher combination rating matched with the GVWR, those guys can tow more. I can admit that it's a weak point with the truck, and I wish somehow we can improve that. Funny how things work, how timing works out. As I was filming across the street, this truck that I ordered showed up on the carrier, and I was just mentioning how 1-tons are very prominent in the towing world versus our medium duties because of the way that they are set up. So I ordered this for a customer in town here. This is a four-wheel drive dually, regular cab. You do not see a lot of these trucks, extremely rare, but this is the best of both worlds. This truck has a ton of payload for what you can carry in the bed. It's got a ton of hitch weight. Rear axle rating is exceptional, and it has a gross combination of 40,000 pounds, this truck right here. So it's gonna allow them to do what they need to do. Haul a heavy trailer, or if you wanna haul some cinder block or brick, whatever the case may be, and they didn't need the double cab or the crew cab. It's gonna be one guy with a truck with maximum capability. So here it is, just a work truck package with some extras. So let me show you how we set this one up for them. So you got your standard vehicle price, that would be with a gasoline engine, but we gotta add in the Duramax. We did the work truck convenience package, also did the upgraded mirrors. So in order to get the mirrors with the actual LED backup lights, you have to order the upgraded mirror package, and these also do power fold. The other mirrors that you see that are like this piece is just blacked out. This you know, there's just a plastic piece in here. So this has the upgraded power folding mirrors with the LED backup lights. Brake controllers there. We also added the 120 outlet. All-terrain tires. We did put the chrome bumpers on. It has the snow plow prep. All said and done with destination 55,505. So this truck, we ordered accessories. It's getting front and rear, the mud flaps, the Chevy accessory ones, they're made by Laverne. They're the big wide ones. It's getting assist steps. We're gonna do a spray and bed liner. And that's actually one way we save time. We got this truck here faster by not doing the spray and bed liner. I can get them done locally by Line-X with a lifetime warranty, and if you want my opinion, the Line-X guy does a better job on the prep and the finish than Chevy does. So if you order a truck with with a factory spray and bed liner, they have to move it to another location, to another plant to get sprayed. It slows down getting the truck physically here. So just a little hint, tell your dealer to speed things up. If possible, do not order the truck with a spray and liner. Now, if you want the factory puck system, the factory fifth wheel gooseneck prep, that automatically forces a spray and bed liner. So in that case, you're kind of stuck. It's gonna delay shipping. If you remember, I mentioned earlier in the video, I would show you the second stage, the weight slip for the 1-ton dump from Unicel to compare numbers. Remember, our weight slip came in at 9280. They came in at 9540. So they're a little heavier, which it's probably safer to be a little on the heavier side. You know, that way you're not telling the customer to go ahead and overload the thing. So Truck stop with me in the truck, full tank of fuel came in 92.80. Unicell came in at 95.40. So there is always a little bit of a discrepancy, but that's close. I mean, that's a margin of error that I can live with, and I'm actually glad to see that they're a little bit on the heavier side. I'd rather tell the customer the truck's a little heavier than what it is to keep them from overloading the truck.